So a lot of you guys will remember back in the day, we exposed the chorus dark funding. Well, we didn't expose it. We amplified Taylor Lorenz's hardworking journalism after she exposed it. And then we died on the hill. We were like, guys, we do not take a dollar of corporate money of any kind. And we sure as shit would never do it without disclosing it to you, right? Taylor Lorenz did excellent reporting for Wired. They stood by it the whole time. We came out here and we said, guys, this is legit. This is good stuff. This is why we need journalists. David Pakman did not have that reaction. He was really pissed off because he got caught with his pantsman down. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, he decided he was going to get litigious. I pulled the original clip of David Pakman just to remind everybody, take an old familiar walk down memory lane. But then the plot thickens, and we've got an update from Taylor Lorenz.
Yeah, let's relive this glorious moment. When David Pakman decided to throw a tantrum and start threatening the press.
Yeah, absolutely. Very Trumpian behavior from David Pakman.
Well, I hate to start a show like this, but I do have to talk today about a defamation lawsuit. After Wired published a piece last week that made a number of untrue allegations and implications about me and other creators, claiming I'm taking money in exchange for letting someone dictate the content of this show or restrict what I'm talking about, and many other claims and implications.
And he's never even heard of IPAC or APAC or whatever you call it.
A whole bunch of you wrote to me and said, David, are you going to sue for defamation? Suing for defamation and winning is really the way to take control back and to prove that you didn't do the things you're accused of. Now, it's a fair question, and I want to talk about that today. I didn't even plan on mentioning this entire fiasco again, but it really has taken on a life of its own. Over the last few days, I've consulted with some of the top defamation attorneys in the country.
Have you?
Lawyers who have won some of the largest verdicts, I think, in U.S. history.
And they all told you had zero fucking case, I guarantee you.
I've been advised this could take 6 figures in legal fees just to get to the end without even a guarantee of getting the money back, right? I am not litigious by nature. I think all of you know that. I've never sued anybody. It would be stressful. It would be time consuming.
Yeah. So whoever cut that together did kind of a sloppy job, but you get the point.
Yeah. That was a lot of bullshit. A lot of threats and attempts to intimidate reporters for reporting on things that he in no way could prove were untrue. Which again would have been the actual way to respond to this if you were smeared. Like to just be like, yeah, this is how and why this is false. And see, I'm innocent. When you can't do that, you have to resort to, I'm going to call the fucking manager and I'm going to sue you and I'm going to shut your channel down and all this crap, right? It's pathetic. It's the lowest form of fucking integrity as someone who talks about, politics for a living or whatever you talk about for a living. Just fucking deal with it like a man, have the person on, tell them that they smeared them. But I just can't stand this stupid fucking instinct to sue people or to threaten suing people. Like someone would have to call me a goddamn child molester for me to even think of fucking calling a lawyer. Like someone would literally have to say the most vile shit about me, lie about me, right? For me to even consider that. And even then I'd probably be like, all right, well, don't want to bring any more attention to this false claim by getting fucking lawyers. It's just not, I truly am not litigious by nature. So I wouldn't even think to threaten someone, right? But that's David Pakman.
And it wasn't just David Pakman. It was Brian Tyler Cohen. And it was a lot of guys that fancy themselves to be intellectuals, a lot of chin stroke academic type of guys. Even Destiny was dying on the hill that this was filled with defamation and that it was all lies. And a lot of them even really showed their ass. They were like, we have no idea how journalism works. That was the most stunning thing for me, was when people were trying to defend the indefensible, which was taking dark money and not disclosing it to your audience so that they could feed you propaganda points, and you'd agree that you're not going to criticize anybody else that's under the umbrella, and also you would check with them before you interviewed any politicians. These were all plain as day, part of the article. Go read it for yourself. And they all had the same response, guys. They said, why don't you put the actual contract in your article? And she said, oh, because the source is anonymous and they don't want to have retribution, but our lawyers, Wired, myself, we all have multiple copies of the contract, right? We have all of it here, but because they're watermarked, because they wanted to be able to intimidate and go after anybody who leaked these, we've decided to keep it anonymous, and our lawyers assure us that it's 100% top to bottom full proof. You guys are welcome to try and litigate it with us, but you're not going to have success because we're Wired and we have a lot of good fucking, attorneys over here. So have at it, right? Okay. It turns out, nobody really did anything. The plot didn't develop. And I saw this tweet from David Griscom, friend of the show, yesterday morning. He said, did anything happen to this, in response to the Ken Klippenstein tweet that we just reacted to? And I also wondered, did anything happen with this? What happened? What's going on? Apparently nothing. None of the Dem influencers or the dark money group involved could debunk a single fact in the story. There are 0 goose egg corrections on our story. Susan Lambert and other Dem influencers have instead been boosting Peter Thiel's media site and spreading insane conspiracies about me. So instead of actually suing Taylor Lorenz or the parent company of Wired or whatever, they're just resorting to the Ethan Klein snark attack. Let's terrorize the person who exposed us.
Yeah, totally hilarious. I'm not sure about this Peter Thiel media site that she's talking about. But Suzanne Lambert or whatever is the influencer described as the Regina George of liberals in Taylor's article. She's super fucking cringe. So that's funny. I didn't know about the Peter Thiel media site thing. Maybe it's time for a sequel, Taylor. Sounds like you have some material that you've been cooking up. Maybe time to drop a sequel to the Wired expose, because that's the other thing I said at the time, which I stand by, is that there's a lot more to uncover. Which is actually why David Pakman was threatening Taylor, not just Taylor, but the entire press, because he doesn't want people to keep digging. He does not want people to keep digging into all of the corruption when it comes to, the dark money and all of this fucking crap, right? So, let's see some more. Let's keep going. Let's not, forget about this story, because it was a huge bombshell, and it should be talked about, specifically after we got the crazy revelation from David Pakman's ex-producer, guy who used to produce the David Pakman show, that him and Brian Tyler Cohen got together and decided that they weren't going to talk about Israel because it would upset their audience and it might hurt Joe Biden. That was a real story that we had confirmed by David Pakman's ex-producer. A total fucking conspiracy. So, this is crazy shit, and it's a good thing that Taylor is out here taking a victory lap, because she very much so deserves one.
100%. And just for people, we can quickly even play that clip Gavin was just mentioning.
So I'm sure that a lot of the creators who work with Good Influence, who work with Chorus, would say, Chorus has never told me, they've never dictated what I have to say. But the point is that if you said something different, you wouldn't be getting money. And in Pakman's case specifically, if you look through his channel, it's almost all anti-Trump content, and I don't think there's hardly a word on Palestine.
Well, if I could jump in there real quickly.
This is really interesting,
John, here, because you work there, so you have a little bit of personal knowledge of the fact that this is deliberate.
It absolutely is deliberate. I actually have an email from him after he visited the White House last year on the day of Joe Biden's State of the Union address. He was invited to a private off-the-record meeting with Kamala Harris and several other content creators, including Brian Tyler Cohen, the Mycelis brothers from Midas Touch, and he told me that they all sort of talked amongst themselves at the White House, not in like an official capacity during the meeting, but just casually as colleagues amongst themselves. And they talked about what their editorial stance is on Gaza. And he told me in an email that they talked amongst themselves and came to the conclusion that the topic is too divisive, it might drag down their channels, that it's a poison pill, and that it's better if they just don't talk about it at all. Their role is to protect the Democratic establishment. They're best understood as essentially the unofficial marketing and public relations arm of the Democratic Party, as far as I am concerned.
And that's really important to remember. Barack Obama's team that got him elected back in 2008, they won a massive award for marketing. And basically ever since then, the Democrats have learned, hey, we are going to spend when it comes to influence and when it comes to branding, even though it's all inauthentic. It's all AstroTurf. There's no there underneath the fancy veneer.
Right. And one of the most infuriating talking points at the time, which was like, well, you might not agree with it, but this is what the Democrats have to do to win, and this is what the Democrats have to do to compete with the Republican dark money or whatever. Which I guess there's a version in which that's maybe true. But my response to that is like, okay, well then they should be funding better content creators. Like if they're going to fund anyone to do propaganda, can we please get some better propagandists? Because I genuinely think that David Pakman and fucking Brian Tyler Cohen and all these like boring like MSNBC style talking heads, like they feel MSNBC coded, but like they weren't quite good enough to actually make it onto MSNBC, right? Like they're D-listers, or something. It's like, these people aren't actually helping the Democrats. They're hurting the Democrats. You do realize that the energy these people emanate actually turns off your average voter. You can put them in every American's fucking TikTok feed, Instagram feed, Facebook feed. The Democrats might get less votes as a result. People might deregister and re-register as a Republican after seeing this fucking crap because it's so unlikable. It's smug. It's not relatable to normal people. It's basically just made for people that are already liberals, who already hate Trump, who already love Gavin Newsom and shit like that, and just want to hear the same thing they already believe repeated back to them. So it's actually not a good strategy for the Democrats. Again, maybe if they funded better content creators that were relatable, maybe you could make a case for that. Again, like throwing the principles to the wind or whatever. But the current situation with the current fucking cohort, no, these people are terrible messengers for the Democrats, and they're actually hurting the cause that you claim they're advancing.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's very like calculated and stale, and it basically just reads as crunchy and inauthentic, right? In the exact opposite way, Republicans have been able to land this shit by just cuddling up to podcasters who were already popular and already had a real authentic base, because those people were relatable and there was a deeper trust level between like Joe Rogan.
Jennifer, like she's Jennifer Welch, she is actually relatable. And I'm not saying that she should start taking chorus money. I hope to God that she doesn't.
No, but she's way more relatable than George Clooney getting out and saying something like, oh, you know what, me and my buddy Obama are out here and we think you guys are real dumb. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Ellen DeGeneres isn't exactly a good voice for the Democratic Party because she's unrelatable and she's off-putting, right? I think that the Democrat and really the progressive left's policies are so popular and they're so easy for regular people to sign on to. It's the externalities of it and the fact that people do not like what they imagine a Democrat to be in their brain if they're not already a Democrat most of the time.
Right. So again, it's like, even if all you care about is the Democrats winning, I still argue that this is counterproductive.
100%.
Like, say you don't give a fuck about dark money, corruption, anything. All you care about is I want more Democrats to win. And that's defensible. I still think this is a bad idea. This isn't going to help you reach that end. This will not elect more Democrats. It might actually turn more people off of the Democratic Party if they think David Pakman is what a Democrat is. You know what I'm saying? Like 100%. It's unbearable to see the wrong people elevated, right? Not that I think anyone should be elevated in this way with dark money. It's horrible. We should not stoop to the where the Republicans are in that sense and just be like, well, they're corrupt, so I guess we have to be corrupt too. No, we should actually brag about how we're not corrupt and they are.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you want to use that as a moral high ground on which to stand? That's crazy to me. We do it all the time. We do it like 3 times an episode. We love to stand on our moral high ground and point it out that we're not corrupt and that everyone else fucking is. It's glorious. It's great. It feels amazing.
100%.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir.